Welcome back to Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing the Everton news 24/7 for Monday, the 11th of August. And today we're starting with a big one, the big headline, the one we've been waiting for probably all summer. Jack Grealish has got the Fabrizio Romano. Here we go. His Everton medical was booked this afternoon, and there's probably a good chance you may be watching this video and he's already been announced as an Everton player, but. Yeah, Jack Grealish is confirmed as joining Everton on loan. This came alongside this morning, alongside the likes of Alan Myers and Shamoun Hafez. They reported that the deal was progressing this morning, and then the three fatal words from Fabrizio Romano were said later on in the day. This comes also as David Ornstein, he's confirmed some details on the structure of the loan deal for Jack Grealish. So it is just going to be a straight loan, but it will have a £50 million buy option, which we can activate next summer. But yeah, this one we've been waiting for it. Are you excited, Blues? I know I certainly am. This one feels very similar to the James Rodriguez signing 5 years ago. This one seems like the Hollywood name that we've all been waiting for. But yeah, we've had such a difficult few years with relegation battles and things like that, and really struggling to get wins over the line. So to see a player like Jack Grealish come into the club after the years of turmoil we've had is just fantastic news, and it shows that we're at the light at the end of the tunnel now. We've gone through the difficult times, and we're going into this brand new stadium. Obviously, a very successful test event by all accounts. Against Roma on Saturday, I actually wasn't there myself, but by all accounts, it was a decent day out. Obviously, but for the result, but going to this new stadium now with Jack Grealish in an Everton shirt is absolutely fantastic news in my opinion. It's the one we've been waiting for all summer. It's kind of been rumbling all summer, this one, hasn't it? It's been, the amount of times I've said it in various news videos where I'm saying, there's still a chance, we're still interested in Jack Grealish, we're still in talks with Manchester City. We're figuring out if we can do it with the various details of finances, but no, it's over the line now. And as I said before, there's a strong chance you're watching this video and he's already been announced as an Everton player, but we've got to sit tight and wait to see him in that blue shirt, and hopefully he's starting the game against Leeds United at Ellen Road. But as I said before, that's the big one. That's the big news today. And it's probably the headline we've all been waiting for. So I'm delighted to be able to bring you that one. But elsewhere, we've seen some other reports today surrounding Tyler Dibbling. They've also surfaced today. And according to Julia Bold earlier this morning, she reported that Everton have moved on from the pursuit of Tyler Dibbling and are now exploring other options after the Saints set a very high asking price for Tyler Dibbling. It is interesting, this one, because Mark Douglas over the weekend, I think it was yesterday, he mentioned that we are still hopeful of signing Tyler Dibbling. But obviously today's developments with the whole Dibbling saga from Southampton, it looks like this has cooled now, and we've sort of cooled our interest. But what do you think, Blues? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is it, we are moving on to other targets? I'll get onto that later in the video. Or do you think it could be media grandstanding? Do you think we're sort of in this cat and mouse situation now where Southampton looking to stay strong on their valuation, but Everton also looking not to cave in and cave to Southampton's demands? So it's interesting to see how this one will develop. But obviously, with today's developments from Julia Bold, she's reported that we have moved on to other targets now. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments with that one. Where do you think we stand on that one? But one potential target and one potential other target, which has been mentioned, an alternative to Tyler Dibbling, was mentioned by Alan Myers earlier today, was Abdul Fatawu from Leicester. Before I give you my thoughts on this one, we did an X poll earlier today, and of around 3,700 votes, 68% were in favour, 27% were unsure, and only 5% were against. Listen, Fatawu is a fantastic player. He showed in Leicester's Championship season that he's really tricky winger. He's fantastic. He's pacey. He's powerful. He's got a good eye for goal. My only reservation is he suffered a very difficult ACL injury last season, which pretty much ruled him out for the entire season for Leicester. And it could be argued that it's a big reason why they went down with such a whimper. Obviously coming back up to the Premier League, bouncing straight back up. They did go down with a pretty lackluster fight, and that could be a big reason for why. But as well with ACL injuries, tricky wingers like that, sometimes they do struggle to really get back up to that full fitness and find that agility that they had before that big injury. There's no doubt about it, he's a top player, and he was a top player before his injury. And I've seen a few glimpses in pre-season for Leicester that he's been playing quite well, and he's been scoring goals aplenty. So again, can he refine that form that he had before his ACL injury? And if so, he'd be an absolutely fantastic addition for us. But also, it may depend as well on a potential deal for Bilal El Khanous. I think he's been linked with Newcastle today as well. So would Leicester be willing to let both of them go? I'm not so sure. But again, he is a top player for Fatawu, so I'd be delighted if he were to come in as our potential replacement or alternative to Tyler Dibling. But this was also reinforced over the weekend by John Percy of the Telegraph. He also reported our interest in Abdul Fatawu, and also James Justin is another name that cropped up in that report. So James Justin, obviously a fullback that can play either side. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago when we were linked with James Justin. I think he'd be absolutely buzzing because he really was playing well for Leicester when they were in the Premier League and playing in Europe, but he kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. I'm not too sure what happened, but again, if we can get him for a sensible fee and it was sort of backup for the likes of Adam Asnu, Vitaly Mikalenko, and then also on the right hand side for Jake O'Brien or even Nathan Patterson, and even just decent competition for places, I think that would be positive. But again, I think it would have to be a nominal fee just because he was pretty poor last season for Leicester. But now moving away from that, we'll move on to some older stories from the past couple of days. We'll start with Danny Hall of the Sheffield Star. He's reported our interest in Tyrese Campbell of Sheffield United, who had a relatively successful season last year for Sheffield United. Before I give you my thoughts, we did an X poll earlier in the weekend, and it was around 2,400 votes. 37% were in favour, 33% were unsure, and only 30% were against. There'd be something quite poetic, wouldn't there, of Tyrese Campbell pulling on the Everton jersey, obviously, especially after the passing of his dad a few years ago. There's something quite poetic and quite fitting about that. And also, he did have a pretty decent time out last season for Sheffield United. So again, there's definitely a player in there. Um, Looking at our current striker options, you've obviously got Beto, you've got Tieno Barry, you've got Yusuf Chamiti there. They're three striker options that we've currently got. I think Yusuf Chamiti needs a loan. I said that, before my little break a couple of weeks ago. I said that I think Yusuf Chamiti does need a loan. I still stand by that. I think he's really struggled this pre-season. I think he just needs some consistent men's football, maybe in the Championship or even abroad. I think he needs that. So if you were to bring in Tyrese Campbell as sort of your Chamiti replacement to play third fiddle, I don't see why not. But again, I don't think Tyrese Campbell will want to do that. I think he wants to play week in, week out for Sheffield United. So again, let's just see how that one develops. But that's that's a story. I think it would be quite heartwarming, wouldn't it, seeing Tyrese Campbell pull on the blue jersey, especially after his dad did all those years ago. But elsewhere, Pete O'Rourke, he's reported that we're plotting a move for Norwich right back Kellen Fisher. And of around 2,200 votes on our X poll, 40% were in favour, 54% were unsure, and 6% were against. Again, this one I think falls into the unsure category. I think it's a young right back. It's pretty similar to the sort of profile that Adam Asnu is, in my opinion. Pretty untested, pretty young, pretty raw. So again, I think it's got to be. You got to treat these ones with caution because we've seen it so many times where, you look at the Nathan Patterson one, for example. We signed Nathan Patterson and it hasn't really materialized and we've kind of stunted his growth a little bit. So again, with these ones, you've just got to tread with caution, but it is interesting to see that we are shopping around in the Championship for potential fullbacks. But finally, this one comes from Matteo Moretto, and he's reported that we do hold an interest in Midtjylland striker Franquinho Giu, with Roma and RB Leipzig also interested in him. 20 million euros is the value that's being touted around for this one. So before I give you my thoughts, we'll give you the thoughts of the X poll. 3,200 votes, 44% were in favour, 52% were unsure, and only 4% were against. Again, this one's a pretty unknown quantity. 20 million value from the Danish league seems like a lot of money in my opinion. So again, if you look at the amount of money we've spent on Tieno Barry, can you really afford to spend 50 million on strikers in one window when we've got so much to do elsewhere? I'm not so sure you can. So I think I'd probably maybe sit on the fence with this one a little bit and sit in the unsure category as well. But that rounds up today's news. Let me know your thoughts on obviously the big news that dropped earlier today, Blues, about Jack Grealish. I am, for one, very excited. I can't wait to see Jack Grealish in the blue of Everton. I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic signing for us. Maybe wouldn't have wanted to see a £50 million release buyout clause. Maybe a 40 million would have been a bit more sensible, but there's no doubt about it. We're going to get a ready, tried and tested Premier League player to come straight into the side and hopefully cook us up this league this season. But that is all from me today. It's good to be back, Blues. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on the potential incomings. But that is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.